Welcome into the Sources Say podcast, your go-to Kentucky basketball podcast on the KSR Podcast Network. Today's show brought to you by our friends at LG&E and KU. I am your host, Jack Pilgrim of Kentucky Sports Radio. Very excited to be joined. Hey, look, surprising new face today. Stephen Peak, what's up, buddy?
How's it going? Haven't done one of these in a while, so I'm a little nervous.
Usually we save the crash outs for coming home from bad losses on the road while we're driving very safely, coming home, but that's usually you at your best. So fortunately, we don't have that. And also, just for clarification, Shawn Smith will be joining us. He is on his way home from his own practice with Frederick Douglass. So just kind of BSing a little bit until Shawn gets here. But it's going to be a massive show. Very exciting today with, a lot to talk about, obviously. Celebrating the win over number one Purdue, then obviously previewing the upcoming exhibition matchup to wrap up the exhibition schedule against Georgetown Hoyas, not the Georgetown College, Georgetown Hoyas. That's on Thursday. And then we're going to do our game-by-game predictions. We're going to pick the entire season, Steven. So a lot of fun to be had, but none more than recapping a very, very fun Purdue game. Just your expectations going into the Purdue game versus where things stood leaving the Purdue game, because I think those are two very different things.
Oh, for sure. I think going in, I said they were a 6.5 point underdog, just throwing that number, pulling that out of nowhere. And I thought Purdue had some open looks that they just didn't hit. But I think you can chalk that up to a few things, and one, Kentucky's just defensive tenacity, and then even when they were open, I think that late in the game, especially, of course, in the second half, their legs were going out because Kentucky was constantly pressuring them and able to do line changes, and Trent Noah talked about that Jenga moment where you just wear the team down until it's about ready to collapse. They're about ready to cave. And man, I came away from that like a lot of Kentucky fans of big dreams. I had big expectations coming in for this team. I really do think this is a Final Four roster, and that those suspicions are certainly, as of right now, confirmed that this is a Final Four team. Now, I don't think Purdue particularly played very well, but Jack, I also don't think Kentucky played anywhere close to their potential either. Like, I think defensively and on the glass they look good. But what did you think? I thought they left a lot of points on the board. Not to mention, you had two of your best players sitting out, and Otega Owe only played 8 minutes? So I think, am I right about that? How many minutes Otega played? I thought he
was longer than it was 17.
It was 8 minutes in the first half.
But
there you go. I was looking at the first half stats. That's what I was doing.
He was on a minute restriction. Yes.
Okay, but he was on a minute restriction. So yeah, and I thought too that the offense is only going to get better. I didn't think they shot it particularly well. I think it was just north of 30% from behind the arc. Mm-hmm. And how many threes did they take?
They took 17 threes. We took 29.
Okay, Louisville just shot 29 in the first half in their game versus Bucknell that's going on right now. But what did you think about that? And I thought that as good as Kentucky played, I just don't think that we even saw anywhere close to how good they can really be.
I just thought it was hilarious that, the copium that we've been seeing from Purdue fans, that they hyped it up. They said, "Oh, you tried stealing our point guard, buddy. We're going to show you what it means to be a Purdue Boilermaker," whatever that does mean. Actually, I'm still waiting to find out what it means to be a Purdue Boilermaker. What is a Boilermaker? I'm still learning. But it was just so funny, the tone and the narratives going, "Oh, we're returning 3 stars. 295 combined starts between our big three. You guys are lucky to be in our presence, first and foremost. We absolutely dog walk Purdue, and then it leads to we don't care about exhibition.
Yeah.
Arkansas still talking about an exhibition game from 2 years ago. Come on, man. It's just hilarious how they are so emotionally broken over a stupid exhibition game that doesn't count. It's okay, guys. I just want you to know, I know you're watching because, while we're still excited about Georgetown and what's ahead, our own season, because we are actually a legitimate national title contender, you guys are still losing sleep over a stupid exhibition game. So I hope
they're
you guys
still
are doing
talking about
okay.
it.
I hope there was this moron in my Twitter mentions. You responded. I know it's rage bait. I get it. I totally understand it.
Of course.
But he tweeted 50 times about Kentucky over the last 24 hours. 5-0. 50 times. Get over it, bro. Just get over it. It's okay. It's just an exhibition game. You don't have to be broken. Your team is still okay. Maybe not as good as you expected, bringing back 3 star caliber guys. Maybe the guys that you brought in to, kind of fill the voids that were clearly missing on last year's Sweet 16 group, maybe they're, not living up to the hype, and maybe the Daniel Jacobson that we said wasn't very good before the game ended up not being very good. Maybe you guys will come to a realization that he's not very good either. So it's okay. We'll just regulate yourself. We'll work through it together. But on our end, we will take it for what it is, a massive measuring stick where, again, both teams, I thought, tried hard. It wasn't that one team wasn't giving a damn and the other team was playing like it was a championship banner, like these other moron Boilermaker fans that have continued to talk about. Both teams played hard. They both played defense. Kentucky just executed a lot better. And I think, Steven, that was the biggest surprise for me when the stat I brought up. 295 combined starts between Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith, and Trey Kaufman-Wren.
Yep.
You would expect at this stage for them to be the chemistry, the cohesion, that stuff to be just a well-oiled machine between those 3 guys. For Kentucky, it's Otega Oweh, it's Trent Noah, Brandon Garrison, Colin Chandler, kind of the tier below. But in terms of the superstars together, you won't find a better trio in college basketball with coming back from the year before than those 3. And mind you, they all played 30 minutes. So the whole we were going to go way deep in our bench. We're going to play rotations that we're not going to see in the regular season. So come on, guys. It's not the same Purdue team that we're going to see during the regular season. They all played 30 minutes. The only guy on our team that only came close to that, as we're talking about rotations and throwing stuff against a wall to see what sticks, Denzel Aberdeen, the only guy that even sniffed 30 minutes. He had 29. So it's just funny that the team that's supposed to look further along looked more broken than the guys that just came together for the first time back in June. So for where things stand as of October 24th, last Friday, and then going into the regular season here in early November, I'm maybe not stunned because I knew this Kentucky team was going to be good, but they are so much further along together in terms of cohesion than I could have possibly imagined.
There are guys that are doing things I didn't think we would see this early. I thought Malachi Moreno looked like he's going to be able to ball out this year. I was worried about that position, Jack, of course, waiting on JQ and wanting to see Brandon Garrison take a much bigger step than I think than what was really possible. I still like what I saw from Brandon Garrison and Malachi, being able to pass the ball, being able to get rebounds. And Jasper Johnson played like he's going to be a star. I feel like there's going to be, I'm sure you've done it, everybody's been doing the Rob Dillingham comparison because of the OTE connection, but he did some things in that game that you see the star potential that Rob Dillingham offered. And also you see the no, yes kind of shots that they may drive you crazy at some point in the season. There's probably going to be times when you're like, Jasper, we really didn't need the step back side step that allowed the guy to get closer to you. He made that shot, Jack. He does the in and out step back, and then he does the gather step to the side, and it allowed the defender to get closer to him to block his shot, and he buried it. And there's just those that was really cool to watch.
So on Jasper, I have a working theory alongside my dear friend Drew Brown, Big Blue Drew. You may know him on Twitter.
Of course we all do.
We have this running theory, and we've talked about it every single year, dating back to the Scal year. I don't think we've been friends that long, but we've used Scal as an example. The first 5 games of the season, exhibition, whatever, the first 5 opportunities to prove yourself on the national stage will decide whether you're going to be a successful Kentucky Wildcat or not. And his working theory is the guys that have been able to step up in the spotlight in the Champions Classics of the world, in the Purdue exhibition games of the world, when the lights have been on and the stage has been bright, and they have been able to have a confidence booster and kind of take these early steps and go, oh, this stuff is easy. They have gone on to have super successful seasons. On the flip side, a Skal Labissiere, they kind of get thrown in the fire early on. They really, really struggle. They kind of deal with the piling on. Oh, well, he's overrated. He was never worthy of the number one recruit hype, this, that. Justin Edwards maybe not playing up to the, number one recruit status, and he kind of worked through the confidence thing all year. Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepherd are the biggest storylines leaving the Champions Classic that season. It feels like there's just a theme of the guys that can figure out how to click early and thrive on these types of stages end up breaking through. And Jasper has, like Rob Dillingham, is one of those kind of fork in the road guys where people talked about his career, but being a lottery pick after this year. People have also said, hey, he doesn't play defense. He's a shot maker, but he doesn't do a whole lot else outside of making shots. Will he get frustrated with his role when he gets buried on the bench? Will he be, the next kind of disgruntled portal guy? Those types of it could have gone both directions. And our kind of working theory is the earlier the better for performances like Jasper. And what's funny is I talked to my dear friend Dennis Johnson, father of Jasper Johnson. He was coaching the Woodford County game on Friday night, so he wasn't able to see it in real time. But he said that when he got back to his phone afterward, he had 65 text messages, dozens and dozens of phone calls, 10 calls from his mom. He's like, oh no, did something happen to Jasper in the wrong direction? And obviously it's not, everything ended up being fine, but he said like he frantically called Jasper and was like, dude, what's the deal? What's going on? And he was like, Jasper was eating a bag of chips and watching an NBA game at the 10:30 ESPN game that night afterward, just chilling, totally nonchalant, just like, yeah, whatever. Work's done. Now it's time to relax and play. And it kind of hit me in that moment. They kind of asked like, so, what'd you think of it? What was the physicality like? Those type of things. Yeah, it was fine. No big deal. Just very nonchalant about like damn, that was a really, really impressive game. You hit some ridiculous shots. You played out of your mind. And his reaction afterward was like, business as usual. So I think we got something in that good Lexington boy, Jasper Johnson, Stephen.
I've been saying, the few times I've gotten to see him play in person, he's been the star out there. And I know that he's incredibly talented, and he's going to have like massive games for Kentucky. I do think like there will be some give and take with that. Because he's 18, right? He's a freshman. He's still learning how to get acclimated to everything. College basketball, acclimated to the offense. I'm sure that there will be some ups and downs, but man, you're right. Like there is, I think you and Drew are definitely onto something with that. There is, it takes something special to play here. Cal always said that, right? I can't hide you here. And there are guys who came here and they just weren't ready for it. That was pretty obvious. And Jasper is full on embraced this. He knew what this was. I'm sure everyone in his life told him what it would be like, and he was prepared. And I don't know that there was anybody out there that I felt. There's a lot of new faces on this team, and nobody felt like they were overwhelmed. And I'm going to tell you what, Jack. I had somebody from Purdue ask me, is that typical? Is that what Rupp Arena is like? And I yeah, for the big games. For the big games. And that was a big game atmosphere.
Although, last year was the first time that we kind of saw the tide turning a little bit, where a normal Tuesday night game against mid-major U at 9 o'clock can still be pumping. So like that was definitely to the extreme, but this isn't the last couple years of Cal where, yes, totally dead, not even sold out. Mm-hmm. Last year was the first time that we would show up at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night against a no-name team and go, whoa, every single seat in this place is full and the crowd's getting into it. So I feel like we're trending in the right direction. And this wasn't, again, Purdue fans thinking it's all about them. It wasn't just about them. It was the opportunity to see this team for the first time. For this team not to play Purdue. It was we get to prove ourselves against very good competition. Not, we get to, this is our Super Bowl. We get to play Purdue. Nobody thought about the stupid logo. Everybody saw the number one.
And that's what it was.
It wasn't about Purdue. It was about the number one and saying, hey, we think we deserve to be number one. Let's go prove it.
I agree with that. I do think that Kentucky fans feel like this team is being undervalued, and that we wanted to show that on Friday. And I think Kentucky did. I think this team's going to be really tough to score on, Jack. I know, again, I talked about it earlier, Purdue missed some shots. But when you look at Andrea Jelovic, how he plays defense, the dude can play defense. That's what I was worried about when you get these Euro guys. Kind of saw that with Big Z, right? Oh, man, he's an offensive weapon, but the kid can't be on the floor because he's just giving up buckets. I don't think that's going to be the case with Andrea Jelovic. Do you?
Yeah, I thought Andrea Jelovic was electric, just like our friends at LG&E and KU. LG&E KU knows that when the lights go out, it can feel like a full court press, but staying in the know is an easy win. Update your phone number in the LG&E and KU mobile app or in my account. If the power goes out, you'll get play-by-play text from 454-358 with outage updates, safety information, and time estimates for power restoration. Can't text, no problem. We'll call the landline on your account with the same update so you're never left in the dark, because in the dark there's no defense. But with LG&E and KU, you've always got a team working to get the lights back on and let you know the game plan. Update your number today at lgeku.com/outages. So yes, Andrea Jelovic was, I wouldn't say my number one takeaway. I think Jasper is obviously the number one takeaway, and just some other things, how Denzel Aberdeen stepped up with Jalen out. So, but in terms of maybe the biggest surprises, the biggest head turners outside of Jasper, I think Andrea Jelovic. And I agree. You are just so used to Croatian Sensation 1.0 with Big Z and how that opportunity. I said this on the Rapid Reaction, but everything that Big Z did felt like an accident, even though he was super talented and deserved the production that he found on occasion whenever he was able to find it consistently. It always just kind of felt like, whoa, that wasn't supposed to happen. Everything Andrea Jelovic did felt exactly in place, exactly within his capabilities. And I thought, defensively, there's just that, like you said, there's a European stereotype that they're soft, they don't move well laterally, they're just more skill and savvy over athleticism. The way he was moving and guarding multiple positions and being at the right space at the right time, you kind of got more of the, this guy's been playing professionally for several years, not this guy is a soft European who can't play our game. It was right. It definitely veered the other direction that we did not get that vibe with Big Z at all. And knowing that he didn't even get to show off his best abilities, Steven. He's a shot maker. Like, he is a guy that you trust in the corner to launch 3 or 4 threes a game and hit a couple of them. Like, we didn't even get to see him at his best. We got to see the playmaking version, the guy that, Mark Pope joked he's never allowed to dribble the ball. He rebounded and went and made the right plays in transition. Brandon Ramsey did a great job talking about, not just pushing the ball ahead for the sake of doing so, waiting for the right time for the correct shot, and found it in transition while also doing all the other stuff properly. I thought Andrea, again, that's been my hot take from the beginning, that Andrea Jelovic is going to be our starting 4 by the end of the year. Not anything because I think Mo Diabate is excellent and he was just as impressive, but I think it's going to be one of those, like, hey, Andrea is going to have to play. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to hide him on the bench. Definitely one of my top takeaways by far. Yeah, and just looking at the stat sheet, 5 rebounds. But I'll tell you what, talking about rebounds, Mohamed Diabate, man. Like, it was so much fun watching that team attack the glass. And when he goes up and gets a rebound, he gets it and he just shoves the other dude out of the way. He's aggressive with it. I freaking love it. Pardon me, bud. Yeah. and his ability to just get it and go and initiate. It was, there was no panic with him. It was, all right, everybody get the hell out of the way. I will get us where we need to be. And then getting into the offense and then letting the other guys kind of fall into place. And then when the situation called for him to go ISO and say, all right, well, we need you to get downhill and get us a bucket. He could provide that, but he was a facilitator. He moved the ball. He's a plug and play guy. The comparison with him is a Draymond Green, and you do just kind of get that vibe that he's just a safety net. He does everything the exact right way. He's not going to be a guy that's going to ever go for 20 and 10 on any given night, but he is going to live in that 12 and 8, 12, 8, 4 and 2 range. He's going to be a stat stuffer. He's going to guard multiple positions. He just does everything. I couldn't have been more impressed with Mo. Denzel Aberdeen, you just kind of the high floor guys like Mo at the forward spot, but Denzel Aberdeen stepping in Jalen Lowe's absence, I thought was tremendous. I thought he was, got downhill. I thought he, really knew how to work his body and get those paint touches and know when to dish, know when to finish. There's a lot to like about Denzel Aberdeen, his defensive effort. I thought he was excellent on Braden Smith. There was just a lot to like. He is another one of those guys. I don't think he's ever going to be a 20-point per game scorer, but he's going to be a 10, 5, 5, 3, 4 every single night. So a lot to love there. Did that game change anything for you in the sense of, hey, I didn't believe this team could win a national championship, but now I do, or I had a couple questions that I think are now answered?
I didn't know how good this team would be without Jalen Lowe and JQ, and that just the first half, I was breathing for the first time since Jalen Lowe's injury, because I was like, okay, they got this. Denzel Aberdeen's going to be able to handle the ball. Jasper's going to be able to handle the ball. Colin's going to be able to handle the ball. And, you go down the stat sheet, there's a number of guys who played really well. And then there's guys who didn't stuff the stat sheet that we thought. But Colin Chandler, am I seeing his plus minus correct? That it was plus 15?
Game MVP is Mark Pope so eloquent.
I mean, this
MVP.
Is just the stuff that your eyes lie to you. I thought, where was Colin Chandler at today? He shot 1-3. He had the dunk. And that actually got me out of my seat up in press row. Are we allowed to do that? I don't know if I'm supposed to do that or not, but I couldn't help it. I literally just hopped up. I was looking at you.
I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm the wrong person to talk to. It's true. No cheering in the press box. I'm the wrong person to be following those rules. But electric, yeah, absolutely electric. Like our friends at LG&E in KU. We got Shawn jumping in here, so we're absolutely thrilled to get that happen. Do any final takeaways that you want to get off your chest before we throw Shawn in here?
Just that, again, that's without two starters that Kentucky looked that good. And I'm thinking that I asked Drew, is this what Rupp Arena is like when people have these wild expectations? I haven't covered Kentucky basketball. I started covering Kentucky basketball in some capacity in 2016, so I never got to really see what Rupp was like in big games from that 2010 to 2015 run. And Drew was like, "Oh yeah, this is what it was like," and I can't wait because Rupp was off the charts. All that complaining, all that stuff I do about the atmosphere at Rupp, not an issue, Jack. Not an issue for an exhibition game. So I think this is going to be a fun year.
Man, I'm jealous too because I have not lived that either. That I got hired full time in 2019, and basically everything has gone downhill since. So I'm so glad. I've seen amazing individual performances. The Oscar Tshiebwe's of the world, and draft picks, and I've seen a lot of that. But in terms of greatness, like a team that feels destined for greatness, this feels like the first time that we might be trending in the right direction. So Steven, appreciate you hopping on. Let's swap Shawn back in here so
Thank you guys.
we can get the coach's takes on this wonderful performance, and then transition into some Georgetown talk. So we've been yapping for a minute. So Shawn, you have the floor. 13-point win against the number one team in the country.
Yeah, sorry, a little late night in the basketball world.
You were coaching. You got stuff to do. We're just glad that you came eventually.
Hey, Mark Pope's been coaching, and that staff and what they're doing, because Kentucky looked really, really good. And then when you turn on the tape and see some of the things that they were able to do without two very important pieces that we know are going to be a part of this thing at some point. I mean, anytime you beat number one, you don't apologize for it, even if it's in an exhibition. Like it changes some expectations the same way that beating Duke did last year early in the season changed some expectations for some people. And maybe it didn't change expectations as much as it solidified it for a lot of us that we believed that this team was going to be good and Purdue's going to be a good team as well. But hey, they looked so good with their spacing and their discipline and transition running to the corners with the pace that they were, like Malachi Moreno sprinting and rolling out of ball screens and just playing with a purpose. And then defensively, Jack, the added athleticism that Kentucky has on that end of the floor. I think the athletic difference in last year's team to this year's team showed itself in game one, in exhibition one. Just they're able to do more things. The system is so good, but now you've got guys that are individual athletes as well, that the system had to produce so much for Kentucky a year ago. Now the system makes those individual players even more lethal because they can do some things individually that they just could not do a year ago offensively.
I thought seeing Purdue overwhelmed was a shock to me. Like I think you expect them to just be the chiseled vets, the guys that been there, done that. They not gonna break mentally. They've been in national championship games. They've been to Sweet 16. Not a concern for them. But to see them kind of, their will kind of broken there midway through the second half, and it really, I mentioned this on the Rapid Reaction, but there's a sequence where you're looking on the floor and Andrea Yelovich and Jasper Johnson and Trent Noah and Malachi Moreno are on the floor, and they check out of the game and you look at the scorers table and it's Denzel Aberdeen, Otega Owe, Mo Diabate checking back in the game, and you're like, whoa, I haven't felt this in a really long time. That coming at you in waves where it's the drop off between group one and group two. And we saw kind of the hockey subs there for a little bit, and we're not going to throw around the platoon thing. I think I'm more open to that conversation than most people are. I think they're just kind of mentally, shattered from what that meant for recruiting, and kind of it was an all-time high, and then things kind of fell off after that. So they don't want to recreate that magic that was 2014-15. And I don't think they have the same level of NBA superstars on this roster that group does. But in terms of drop off between group A and group B, I don't think there's a whole lot of that, and I think that's going to pay off tenfold as the year goes on, and you really start. I mean, if you're wearing and tearing Purdue down, what's going to happen, in random SEC games on weeknights? I think we're going to see that depth really start to kill teams, earlier than expected, because this team's so far ahead than I imagined. That what's going to happen once we get to conference play.
And that's the thing to watch, right, over the next couple of weeks, and as they get guys back, is where does the rotation go when it comes to games that actually matter, when it comes to a resume-building win against Louisville or Michigan State or whoever they're playing. But they just have so much depth and so many different pieces that they can just beat you in different ways. I thought BG and Moreno both added something the other night, that when they get JQ back as an option there too, you're really starting to look at, okay, those other two guys look so good. They've got to get some run, but we know that we've got a guy coming in that could be a lottery pick that's going to make the front court even better. Same thing in the backcourt. They're still playing without a point guard right now, and was able to put up 78 and hold Purdue, a team offensively, to 65 points. There's so many things in different directions that Mark Pope can go. And the thing is, Jack, it doesn't look like it's a burden to him and his staff, to have so many options and so many weapons, that I'm intrigued with how they mix all this in and how they beat teams. But the blend of returning experience and retention in a system that is so complex the way Mark Pope's system is, and just how challenging it is to grasp early on in year one, but having those guys in year two, bringing in elite level talent from the transfer portal that have played at the highest level of college basketball, won national titles, gone to Final Fours, and then bringing in guys like Jasper Johnson, Malachi Moreno that have also done it on grassroots and other areas. at a high level. Like, this thing is looking like a well-oiled machine before it's ever really together. And there can be some overreactions at some point. Like, we expect at some point for Kentucky to have moments where they don't look great, right? Like, that's a normal thing for any basketball team. But Jack, for what they looked like the other night, you had Trent Noah knocking down shots, but his ability to cut separates him from some other guys. You had Jasper Johnson in rhythm with the ball in his hands, knocking down shots in transition, ball on a string, getting downhill and finishing at the rim. Malachi Moreno sprinting out of ball screens, running the floor, looking athletic, looking in great physical shape. Like, a different version of him that I didn't get to see in high school. Like, he has taken his game to another level, which is taking Kentucky to another level. But it's just going to be so much fun to watch. And the way that this team early on, the depth is going to be its biggest weapon. It's just going to wear you down and wear you down. And I think Mark Pope is going to find a way to play every single one of these guys early. And you get into that late 7-8 minutes of a second half against Louisville or someone, and it's just Kentucky's depth has just consumed you. And then you got fresh legs. And I don't know what it's going to look like minutes-wise, but I expect them to really utilize how many pieces they have, Jack, until they really figure out what the best lineup combos are.
Malachi, I think, was the biggest, swing player for me leaving that game. Like we talked earlier when Steven was on, that Jasper was the biggest highlight. Andrei Jelovich was the biggest surprise for me, probably. But I think Malachi being as far along as he is and college ready, and it's fascinating watching the dynamic with BG and Malachi, where BG is the energy guy. He's the guy that, he's going to bring intensity. He's going to bring pace. He's going to run the floor. He's going to, throw down a poster. He's that type of Energizer Bunny. But Malachi is always in the right place at the right time. He guards multiple positions. He's, he does so much away from the basketball that doesn't impact the box score that I think Mark Pope is going to see on film over and over and over again and go, dude just wins. He's a winner. He just contributes to winning at the highest level, that I think Pope at the end of the day is going to view him as the safety net guy that we can trust in crunch minutes, guys who's not going to, commit a bad turnover, that's not going to, have a foul on a three, just things that are just kind of those crippling things in big moments. I think we're going to get to a point where Malachi kind of emerges as the safety net, and you throw BG in there as the spark guy. But then what happens with Jaden Quaintance? Like, that's where things are going to get really, really, really tricky for me. And I think, Jalen Lowe to a lesser extent, because they've seen a lot of him. They know how he works into that, that puzzle piece, the piece of that puzzle. And we're going to see that next week, obviously, when the regular season starts. He's not going to play against Georgetown. But my question to you is the front court dynamic. How do you see that working out after getting your eyes on both of them in a live game setting against, high-level competition? And then secondary argument, kind of the same thing with Jalen Lowe. But obviously, I don't think that's as much of a concern.
No, and I mean, the front court, to me, just seeing the shape that Malachi's in, and just the physical conditioning and the ability to run the floor and the athleticism that he was able to show. Like, he didn't have to do those things playing against majority of the teams on their schedule in high school. And obviously I didn't get to see as much of an AAU front. I mean, you could see highlights, but seeing a full game and seeing what he's able to do with his game and how he's taken it to another level, he looks like a guy that's going to have to play some minutes, even when this thing is at full strength with Jaden Quaintance and Brandon Garrison. But, Brandon Garrison was able to do some things. I thought they both passed the ball very well. I thought they were very comfortable in that middle spot of the floor, offensively, making decisions, and some of the staggers and the zoom actions that Kentucky was running. They looked comfortable making decisions and making reads. They played with a pace that just says, hey, I'm comfortable in this role. I want the ball in my hands. I can be played you can play through me at this spot. So I think seeing those things, I don't know really how it's going to shake out when Quaintance comes back, because that's the difficult thing, because we know how talented he is. If anything, it just gives you so much insurance to know that you can go 3 deep at that spot and get something. And this is where, like, I say it all the time when it comes to injuries and guys being out. I don't want to come off as like, hey, I'm looking for positives because there's no positive thing to a guy being hurt, but it's allowing you to get some run for guys that maybe wouldn't have had as much at this point. Like Jalen Lowe being out the other night, you got to see other guys run the one. So if Kentucky's ever in that position when it really, truly matters, you go back to the tape and be like, man, we beat number one Purdue with this lineup. We beat number one Purdue because I had you here. The same can be said about the front court and Malachi playing big minutes against an elite front court, an elite team like Purdue, and the same thing for BG. So when this thing is at full strength, I don't know how Mark Pope's going to navigate it. That's why I don't get paid the millions of dollars that he does. But I trust whatever path they take because I see how deep the talent is at all these positions and in the different ways Kentucky can beat you.
And to the lesser extent with Jalen, what did Denzel show you as the go-to guy? You know, do you think we need to see more of that? How do you see that kind of dynamic working out? And obviously Trent was kind of the, beneficiary of that with slide into the starting role with Jalen out. Obviously everybody would move down one, Trent would come out in that starting lineup, but Trent does so much to make you play him as well. So I don't envy Mark Pope in that regard.
I don't either, because I'll start with Trent. Trent cuts so well. Like the way he sees the floor off the ball. And some of the he's not the quickest, most athletic guy, but he's very smart. And his IQ will keep him on the floor. Like his ability to cut and make reads and understand when somebody's getting over the top on you and you just back cut pressure. It's such a pressure release. And that a guy like that can be on the floor. And that's how, instead of just making shots all the time, or maybe you're not the best defender, you're not the most athletic piece, or there's 4 or 5 guys that are maybe better than you athletically, your mind can keep you on the floor, especially in a system like Pope's. Is when you got all these athletes, you got all these other pieces, when you got a guy like Trent that just sees and makes decisions. But I think Denzel's in the same boat. Like I see great decision-making from him at that spot. And the move that he made getting downhill and the turnaround jumper, I'm like, Kentucky didn't have a guy that can make that play a year ago. And that's where the system came into play. The system produced Kentucky a Sweet 16 appearance a year ago. The system itself and what Kentucky could do and run offensively, it was so dependent on cutting. When you've got cutting and you've got guys that can make shots, but when you compound that with a guy that can just go make a play, this is a team sport that is built around great individual players.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have great individual players and great talent that can just go get it, that's like the play where Colin Chandler got downhill and got the dunk. Malachi Moreno creates an open gap for Colin, and Colin's just able to go beat somebody and get a dunk at the rim. Like that's just having the ability to go make a play. And I don't think Kentucky had enough of that a year ago, and they were able to make it work with what they had. But this year, Jack, they've got guys that are mismatch nightmares that they can run actions for. Like Mo Diabate, I feel like is just a matchup nightmare for a lot of people. And when you let him get into a point where he can face up and get downhill and use his strength and his bully mentality, and then you pair that with Denzel and whoever else, like there's just so many guys that can go get their own on this team that it eased my mind if they play without Jalen for a game or so, or for however long they're without him. They've got other guys that can take over, put the ball in their hands, and Denzel looked comfortable.
And I think that's just a general, turned ankle here, things that just pop up, the bumps and bruises and the nicks that pop up throughout the season. You're well equipped to handle those types of things, as we saw. Like Friday was a perfect example of that. What did you think of the 4 seconds that we saw from Braden Hawthorne there at the end of the first half, guarding the inbound, just Pope just saying, screw it, let's see that, and that's the only 4 seconds that he got. But
making use of what you have, right? Like you got to be ready for whatever your role is in year 1 or year 2, wherever you are in this program. You got to be accepting of your role and just throw them in there. And you never know what you get, and how you accept those opportunities probably means more to you getting another opportunity that's greater than what you got in that moment. So I fully believe that Mark Pope's going to find a way. Last year it came via injury to go deeper and deeper and deeper. But I think early on, and maybe not in the elite games that they played, but in some of those other games, I think Pope's going to experiment a little bit and give guys some opportunities at different points to kind of showcase their development, where they are. And this staff, I believe, is going to put guys in position to have some success and kind of showcase what they're doing with their game. So it was such a good night seeing Rupp Arena that way and beating a quality opponent like that in an exhibition. And like I said, it doesn't do anything for your resume. It's not something you're going to hang your hat on in March. I'll tell you what you can hang your hat on. You can hang your hat on and say, look, we played a really good team. That's a Purdue team that has gone through it, that knows how to win, that is really good offensively and takes pride in everything that they do. And Kentucky, without some very key pieces, just was dominant and looked like the better team for a large part of the game.
40 minutes into the show, and we've hardly said a word about SEC preseason player of the year, Otega Oweh. 10 points in 17 minutes, I think the athleticism really broke through and something that Purdue just did not have a counter for. But just, again, I mean, when we're talking about our best player being a non-factor, a guy who you kind of out of sight, out of mind, just kind of gets you the quiet 10, gets in, gets out, as he's kind of slowly but surely recovering from his own toe injury. I mean, that speaks for itself. Let's transition into Georgetown, what we're going to expect on Thursday, things that you didn't get to see on last week that you want to see, you guys that you want to see, continued high level play and some early takes on Georgetown. Let's start with you on that one, Shawn. Just things you want to see more of or didn't get to see enough of that you want to see on Thursday.
I think obviously the thing that I believe we're looking at the most from game 1 to game 2 is there anything that changes to Kentucky's approach with it being the final. I don't want to call them tune-up games because you're playing quality opponents. This isn't a D2 team or a team that you're just supremely talented over. So is there any lineup combinations that change? Do you stick with the same starting lineup? Do you mix up guys and throw some different guys in positions? Do you ever try a couple of guys together that maybe you didn't try together in game 1? So that's the coaching side of things that I'm looking at. But individually, does Jasper string 2 games together early on in his career? Like he has the big night. It's been a lot of the talk the last few days, and rightfully so. Now that you've got film, what does the preparation look like? What changes? How do you respond to being on the game plan? Because some of these guys probably weren't on the game plan because there wasn't a whole lot to do of what they looked like in Kentucky's system. So I think that's probably what I'm looking for the most is those young guys like Jasper, like Malachi, that had some good moments. As freshmen, you have the ups and downs. What does it look like if it's not an up? I want to see Kentucky keep getting to that 33s attempted mark. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important that they get to that number. Even like what they make the night. How many did they make total?
9 of 29.
So keep inching closer and getting to that 30. Like I think getting to 30 is very important. I'm not saying you got to get to 35, but shoot 28 to 30 to 31 threes a game and develop what you're wanting to do and implement your system and how you're wanting to play. And defensively, like, are you still flying around to the ball? What's your game planning like? And those are the things that I think I'm looking for the most in game 2.
This Georgetown team's fascinating. Like I think that they could be a sneaky Big East team. They're projected to finish 6th, but they're replacing so much. They're replacing 6 of their top 7 leading scorers. Micah Peavy, Thomas Sorber, both draft picks. Jaden Epps was a 12.8 point per game scorer. They're Jordan Burks. Shout out former Kentucky Wildcat Jordan Burks. He transferred away from Georgetown to UCF. So they're replacing a lot of talent. They're bringing back an all Big East player in Malik Mack, starting point guard. They're getting the continuity there. But Shawn, besides that, Ed Cooley didn't sign a single high school recruit, didn't bring in one single freshman, but brought in a ton of high major portal guys. Didn't go try to hit the mid-major market and try to get a superstar that averaged 26 points a game at, Loyola, something like that. They brought in in Arizona, Michigan State, USC, St. John's, UConn, bringing in different guys that have played under high-level coaches or high-level programs to kind of fit the pieces and raise the floor of that group with so much, talent gone from a year ago. So I'm really, really interested. KJ Lewis was a guy that I really liked out of high school. A lot of, former 4-stars too. Of the 6 portal guys that they signed, 5 of them were former top 100 recruits, 4-stars, dating back to the 2021 class. KJ Lewis was a guy that Kentucky kind of sort of flirted with back in the 2023 class. Vince Iwuchukwu, you may recall he had that serious heart issue at USC and had to transfer. He transferred to St. John's and is now at Georgetown. So a lot of Isaiah Abraham, great athlete that committed to Dan Hurley out of high school and number 64 overall player, 4-star in the class of 2024. He's looking for a fresh start. So a lot of interesting pieces that Georgetown is bringing in. And Ed Cooley is a name brand coach. That's a guy that's been around the block forever and definitely some familiarity there. So, what do you think about it maybe not being the Braden Smiths and the, all-American level caliber guys, Trey Kaufman-Renz that we saw with Purdue, not the number one team in the country, but still a name brand program, a name brand coach with a lot of interesting things that they could throw at you.
It's one of those things that, to me, it's an opportunity for you to show just your veteran leadership of this team, right? You beat number 1. It doesn't change the polls, but you have this great feeling about yourself walking around campus the last few days, and now you got to jump back in, and you're not playing the number 1 team in the country. You're not playing a team that everybody's looking at that can make a Final Four or a deep run in the NCAA tournament, but you're playing a guy that's going to have his team ready to get after you defensively. It's going to have a physical approach to the game. A guy that's been around college basketball a long time and had a lot of success. They're going to be ready to play. And I think it's an opportunity as a coach and Mark Pope and his staff, Jack, to say this is a great opportunity for us that, let's say we get into the regular season here and we get an early win against Louisville or something, or we get one of those non-conference wins and we got to come back and play not necessarily a no-name program because we know the name that Georgetown carries, but it's not got a number 1 beside it, where you were so hyped for that first game and that number 1 ranking of knocking off Purdue. Now you got to come back down a little bit, but match it with the same intensity, same effort, same energy. So I think that's where, Kentucky's mental approach has to be, that you got to attack game 2 of an exhibition the same way you attacked game 1, because in the end, both of these are just prepping you for what really matters a week or so from now.
So that's Thursday, and then from there, I mean, we have a weekend, and then the regular season is here, Shawn. So very, very exciting we're seeing real basketball with our own eyes and ears, hearing with our ears, not seeing with our ears. And then, but the real regulation stuff, the stuff that counts on our resume, inching closer to quad 1 territory, Shawn, as you like to say, that begins on Tuesday with the season opener at Rupp Arena against Nichols to tip off the BBN United Tip-Off Classic presented by Kentucky Tourism. I know fans are just heartbroken to see the BBN Invitational go away, but the fact that we get to cut some nets down with another high-profile event like that, I think fans are definitely excited for that. So let's get rolling with our official game-by-game prediction, Shawn. I know.
So I'm assuming we won't have Source to Say Tuesday night, right?
We will not. We will not be doing a show on Tuesday night because we will be at a game Tuesday night. So probably Wednesday. So yeah, that's why we need to do this right now. We got to do these game-by-game predictions right now, and let's get cracking. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we can come up with. I'll keep track on my end with record, and you keep track on your end. We'll go from there. All right, Nichols, Tuesday, November 4th. Win?
I think we're celebrating a Kentucky victory.
There we go. Like to hear it. Let's keep it rolling. Valpo on Friday, November 7th.
Victory.
Louisville, at Louisville, November 11th.
It's crazy how early this matchup is. Like
2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from right now. Well, the game will actually no, right now. We'll be at halftime of that game 2 weeks from right now. That's unbelievable.
And it's before the football game, which is crazy.
Insane,
It's
absolutely
crazy.
insane.
I'm excited for it though. Like I'm excited that you're throwing this team in an environment in a moment like that, and I think Kentucky gets a win on the road.
I agree. We're going 3-0 start. We're going Eastern Illinois Friday, November 14th. Now, this is the BBN Tip-Off United Tip-Off Classic presented by Kentucky Tourism Championship. So understand that the stakes are going to be high in this one.
That's a win too. I think Kentucky's got a lot that they're going to have together, that the talent's just going to take over in these matchups.
We're going Michigan State Champions Classic, Tuesday, November 18th. We get the early game, not getting a late one. Tom Izzo, as he's old man yelling at Cloud right now about the current state of college basketball. Will he even be able to coach on the sideline because he's still outside going, grrr?
And this is one of those where you look at it and it's so used to it being that first test that we see that we're kind of entering this game every year with an unknown, right? We're like, man, what's Kentucky going to be? Like we've maybe got to see them in an exhibition or two or a regular season opener, but once again, I just think that Mark Pope and this team, I just think they have too much, Jack, and I think they get another victory.
5-0 for the Cats. Friday, November 21st, Loyola come to town, 7 o'clock. It's SEC Network Plus game.
That's a victory for the Cats as well.
Tennessee Tech following that up on Wednesday, November 26th, right before Thanksgiving.
Give Kentucky a win there too.
7-0 start for the Cats. We have North Carolina in the ACC SEC Challenge coming to Rupp Arena. Blue Blood coming to Rupp Arena. The Caleb Wilson game, Sean, that's going to be one that fans are definitely keeping a close eye on. 9:30 tip-off, which sucks a big fat egg. We hate that, but it's the Caleb Wilson show as Hubert Davis coaches for his job.
Can I say I'm a fan of this 9:30 tip because we open our season that night at home against Grit Crossing, so I'm not going to have to miss the game. So I'm very happy that the late tip is there, but I think Kentucky's going to be so difficult to beat at Rupp Arena this year. That protecting home court is just going to be such a massive weapon for this team, especially when they get in conference play. I just think it's too much, and I think Kentucky gets a victory at home.
This is the tricky one, Sean. We go to Nashville 3 days later to take on the Gonzaga Bulldogs, who will be looking for revenge after Kentucky stole one down 18 in the second half against the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Mark Few leading that group. Some players returning on that group that absolutely cooked Kentucky last season. Graham Ike, like that's going to be one that I'm keeping an eye on. I'm going Kentucky's first loss there a couple days after the high of the North Carolina win. 8-1 for me.
It's a flip of last year where you played Clemson in the SEC ACC Challenge on the road and you lose it. And we had circled that week last year as kind of like a turning point in the non-conference, right? And then they go on the road and have that thrilling victory, come from behind against Gonzaga with the second half comeback. I'm flipping it this year. I think they win the game at home against Carolina, and I think that I'm going to give them a loss in the non-conference just because there are a lot of elite level matchups, and I think that this could be a prime example for where it happens.
North Carolina Central on Tuesday, December 9th. I assume that we're both going with wins there.
There's a win.
Saturday, December 13th, one Indiana Hoosier coming to town. I hope just one Indiana Hoosier, but it's the Lamar Wilkerson game after he got his coach from Sam Houston State a job on the Indiana bench. Good for him. Got a massive pay raise over Kentucky at the 11th hour in that recruitment. Good for Lamar Wilkerson, but it's going to be a revenge game for the Kentucky Wildcats, and I think Kentucky's going to roll in that one. I'm going an 11-1 start for the Cats.
Same here.
Then we get Rick Pitino. This is where things get very, very, very tricky for me. 12:30 start, Saturday, December 20th, CBS Sports Classic. We didn't see Pope handle the first big-time emotional game last year with Coach Cal coming to town. I think that was one that it got a little bright for Pope individually, considering the coaching dynamic, and I think we're going to see something similar. I know Rick Pitino is going to have just an unbelievable game plan. I know he's going to have the Johnnies ready. I think Pitino's going to beat his successor there. Not successor, but his
first time we're going to be different here. I'm going to go Kentucky wins. I'm going to go Kentucky beats St. John's.
So you got a 12-1 start. I got an 11-2 start. Bellarmine on December 23rd.
Kentucky.
Agreed. Then the start of SEC play. Call your shot. When in this little time frame do you pick Jaden Quaintance to make his debut?
Missouri.
Interesting. I'm feeling pretty sassy about that Bellarmine game. That Tuesday, December 23rd, getting ahead of Christmas and then having a full, week off, 10 days off before heading down to Tuscaloosa. I think that Bellarmine game is a nice little tune-up before getting SEC play rolling. So that's one that I'm keeping an eye on. At Alabama, what are we thinking?
I've gone back and forth on this one all day since I knew we were making our predictions. I'm going to go a loss to start league play on the road at Alabama.
Going win. We're going with a win. We're going 13-2. Start with a big time road win to get SEC play rolling. Wednesday, January 7th, the Missouri Tigers at Rupp Arena.
Fully believe Kentucky is able to protect home court and especially in the SEC opener against Missouri and a bounce back win. If I have them losing Alabama, I don't see them getting out to an 0-2 start.
Mississippi State comes to town to follow that up on the following Saturday, January 10th. Mississippi State's tough. They're well coached. I really, really like this Mississippi State roster, but I do not see Mark Pope losing to a dentist.
And another opportunity for Rupp Arena to kind of flex its muscles, and I believe you're going to hear me saying that a lot. I think the building matters for this team this year. I think it's going to create a good home atmosphere, and I think Kentucky's going to find a way to come out on top at home.
At LSU, that following Wednesday, that's going to be a tricky one. I don't think Kentucky's going to lose, but I think Kentucky's going to struggle there. We saw the 2014-15 Kentucky team struggle, and Karl Towns had to turn into Superman down the stretch. So that one's going to be a tricky one, but I do think Kentucky wins an ugly ugly matchup down at in Baton Rouge to move to 16-2. I think 15-2, 16-2.
And I don't see them losing to LSU on the road. I think Kentucky's able to get a win there. Maybe it's one of those games that you look at, like you said, that's not the prettiest, but Kentucky's talent's just too much.
At Tennessee, we get our revenge game after Kentucky swept the regular season last year and then took one on the chin in the Sweet 16, starting on the road down at the Thompson Bowling Food Center, whatever they're calling it these days.
I've gone back and forth on these two, and I'm going to go Kentucky. I'm going to go Kentucky in that. But at one point, I used to always pick Tennessee in that building, but I'm just given the fact that they were able to win the 2 regular season games a year ago and had more recent success there, I think Kentucky gets it done.
I'm going to flip that one. I'm taking the Alabama win on the road to sacrifice the Tennessee one. I think just that Kentucky will want the revenge, but I also think Tennessee is looking for the revenge factor after losing on their home floor. So I do think Tennessee wins that one. Kentucky moves to 16-3 on the year. Get a well-coached Texas team come into town. Sean Miller taking over for the Longhorns on Wednesday, January 21st.
Once again, Rupp Arena. Rupp Arena matters so much, and Kentucky's able to win at home.
Travis Perry returns home to his old Kentucky home, Ole Miss, on January 24th at nooner.
That's one of those that I think it's going to be tight And obviously the crispier game plan and the defensive approach that Ole Miss is going to have, but I just think Kentucky is going to be too much in that building.
I agree there. Yeah, I'm going with a win for the Cats. Going down to Vanderbilt, some Memorial Magic after Vandy won that one last year. Good Vandy team, but still Vandy, although it's a Tuesday 9:00 tip-off. So what do we think about that one?
This is a tricky one for me. I'm going to actually go a loss here. I'm going to go a loss on the road.
Wow. 0-2 for Pope in Nashville.
I'm just going to go for there's going to be that game regardless of how talented Kentucky is and the type of season that they're going to have. And I still think they're going to be a consistent top 5, top 10 team in the country. But you just have those games. And I feel like that this could be one of those moments that you have. You've had a run of success, and could you be looking ahead to the next one?
I do not think that's going to happen. I think Kentucky wins that one. And then the big one, Arkansas, revenge game for Mark Pope, down at Bud Walton, Fayetteville, January 31st, 6:30 tip-off. I'm going with a win for the Cats. I think they're going – Pope gets his revenge in that one against Coach Cal.
Probably not the week you'd expect. I had them losing to Vandy, but I do have them bouncing back and finding a way to win in Fayetteville. Go figure. Hope they get both of them, but – winning in Arkansas.
Oklahoma comes to town. Obviously, this is the Otega-Oweh game. Just eating the Sooners' lunch after two just gut-wrenching game winners for Otega. The Sooners probably just absolutely despise this man. So I think that's going to continue. I think Otega magic continues. Porter Mosier, I like your team, but I do not like your team against Otega-Oweh. Kentucky opens February with a win at Rupp Arena.
Kentucky protects home court and finds a way to win.
Will they be able to do it against the Volunteers coming to town on that following Saturday at 8:30 p.m.? It's going to be a big one on ESPN. I say yes. I think they get revenge after taking the loss down in Knoxville. I think they respond with as you have said ad nauseum at this point, protecting that home floor. I do think that's going to matter this year. I really do. I think that's going to be the difference, and we're going to move to 22-3. I think it's 22. Steven's keeping track. I'll keep kind of the losses.
I guess at this point, I probably should just spoiler alert and say I think Kentucky's going undefeated at home.
Fair enough.
So I just don't see them losing a game at Rupp. So I think that they're going to beat Tennessee in Lexington.
The Denzel Aberdeen homecoming game down at the O-Dome, Gainesville, Cats against the Gators on Valentine's Day. There will not be a whole lot of love for Denzel Aberdeen from one Todd Golden, who is still very, very bitter about losing Todd Golden to the Cats. 3:00 tip-off on that Saturday. I think I'm going lost there. I think Kentucky is not able to pull that one off against the Gators.
I don't think so either. I think that this is a loss. I think it's going to be a close game, tight game, but I think Florida in their building finds a way.
Georgia at Rupp Arena, Tuesday, 9:00 game. I think this could be a sloppy one. They're tough. They're physical. Mike White's group definitely improved this offseason. It's going to be an ugly score, just like it was last time. I don't think Kentucky's going to get punked anymore the way they did last season against Georgia, against Ohio State, some of those games. So I don't see Mike White's group pulling off the win in that one. I think they protect home floor once again and secure the win over the Bulldogs.
Victory at home.
Heading down to Neville Arena, where Stephen Peak may or may not be banned for life. Saturday, February 21st at 8:30 p.m., Cats against the Auburn Tigers, led by one Stephen Pearl.
Kentucky gets a win on the road. If this were Bruce Pearl, and if there wasn't a change, I would maybe look at it a little bit more. But and not saying that Stephen Pearl is not going to have success at Auburn, but I just think that that's a major transition. That there's going to be some hiccups along the way that come with it, and I think Kentucky finds a way to get a win on the road.
Heading down to an arena that has been absolutely painful for the Cats over the years, at South Carolina in Columbia. I really have not enjoyed going there. I think Kentucky, that's just been a really, really tough place to play. But I do think Kentucky manages to win. It's the 7 o'clock game instead of the 9 o'clock game on Tuesday, so that definitely helps. But this game just I always hate it on the schedule, but I do think that they're able to pull that one off.
It's a tough one. I've had some bad moments in that building. So the last time I went down there, though, was the Oscar Tshiebwe year, and Kentucky played very well down the stretch and was able to win. But up until that, I had not seen a victory that I've covered there. But it's been a weird place for Kentucky, but I think that they're able to get a win late in the season.
Vanderbilt tries to bring that magic up from Nashville to Lexington Saturday, February 28th, 2 o'clock tip-off. That's a very strange one. You've already picked a win to wrap up the home schedule. So I will also pick a win to move to 25-4, I believe. 25-4. Cats head to College Station, take on Texas A&M. This is a new one. It's been a minute since I think the last time we've been to College Station was the Reed Shepherd year. So that was a heartbreaker down there. I remember my flight got canceled while I was sitting on the runway. We had to deboard, and that was just the absolute worst. I ended up not making that flight, making that trip. So this will be my first time going to College Station if we decide to go to open the month of March. I am going with a win. I'm going with a win down at College Station.
And this, I mean, obviously this could be a tough one. That building has potential to be rowdy, especially for Kentucky. And where is Texas A&M at this point in the season and what they're trying to do? Are they one of those teams that are trying to crack an NCAA tournament bid or not? They could go all in, and that'd be the game that kind of determines it for them. It's a team that's going to take and make some threes. I just think Kentucky at this point of the season, they're dialed in, they're in rhythm. They've established who they are, their identity. They know who they are across the board, and I think Kentucky gets a victory on the road.
Then we get one final game to wrap up the regular season, a revenge game. If we're both picking losses down to Gainesville, it's a chance for Kentucky to get revenge to wrap up the regular season against the Florida Gators at 4 o'clock tip on Saturday, March 7th to wrap up the regular season. What you got?
Victory for the Cats. Clean sweep home for the regular season.
Hey, me too. That gives us a 27-4 finish for the Kentucky Wildcats, which, Stephen, jump in here. Is that 1 seed territory? Can we agree that is a 1 seed for the Cats? Maybe. No? Can't hear you, Stephen. I think it's going to be a 1 seed. I think Kentucky gets. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Sorry, I was connected to the mic from earlier. Yeah, that's a 1 seed. I'm actually running it through the Teamcast right now on Bartovic with those results to see what it gives us. So if, by the end of the show, if I figure it out, I'll let everybody know.
I think this is a 1 seed team. I think this is a team, and let's keep going and just predict. Pick SEC tournament and NCAA tournament finish as well. Since we're going that far, might as well finish the job. This team is way too talented. They're way too deep. They have answered all of the questions that limited last year's group: the physicality, the toughness, the athleticism. They really, really addressed them. And this team, as we saw on Friday, has just come together so much more quickly than I could have possibly imagined. And as Shawn said, I do think that even if they take a couple of hiccups, speed bumps along the way, I do think that down the stretch they're going to be absolutely steamrolling the competition, and I think they're going to be playing as well as anybody down the stretch, and I think that's going to really, really work in Kentucky's favor on Selection Sunday. Nashville, returning to Nashville for the SEC tournament, had some success in Pope's first year. You get the game winner from Otega Owe, but they flame out after that against Alabama. How do you see Mark Pope's second SEC tournament going down in Nashville?
Well, we know Mark Pope values the SEC tournament. We know he values it for this fan base, and it's something that Kentucky's not won since my opening year that I was covering the beat in St. Louis with Shea Alexander. So I think getting back to that and winning the SEC tournament, heck, just getting to the SEC tournament final and having that Sunday afternoon being exciting of Selection Sunday. It's a building that this team has already played in earlier in the year, Bridgestone Arena against Gonzaga. I'm going to predict that Kentucky wins the SEC tournament. Even though I don't know what the bracket's going to look like, I don't know what the seating is going to look like. I just think that building and the excitement, if this team is able to go 27-4 or 26-5 or whatever and be in contention for a 1 seed, I just think Nashville will be so electric for that team, and the moment won't be too big for them.
You know, I think last year's group, my prediction going in, kind of, I think last time we did this, to open the regular season, I think if we go back and watch last year's, I think I picked an SEC tournament championship and then a Sweet 16 finish. And I think had Kentucky been healthy, not having to deal with the bumps and bruises that kind of popped up along the way, not losing Jackson for the season, not losing Kirk Risa when they did, Lamont being at 60% by the time we got to the postseason, whatever he ended up being. I think Kentucky was going to win that SEC tournament. I did. I just think they had the magic. I think they had kind of the, like what we're talking about, just that juice down in Nashville. Even if they didn't win not one of the top dogs in the SEC during the regular season, I think they would have finished super, super strong. So I keep going back to that. I think that matters. I think Mark Pope understands that event matters, and I think he's going to really push everything in, and I think they have the depth to overcome any of the, kind of nonsense that could pop up throughout the season. So I do think Kentucky goes down to Nashville, and I think they win the SEC tournament. Now we get into the real stuff, the thing that, the assignment, banner number 9. Can Mark Pope actually get the job done? All the talk about, he'd be a complete bozo to not win a national championship with the money that Kentucky has, spending $22 million on this roster. Is this the year? Is this the year that we talk about this team being worth every single cent and understanding the assignment and returning to that damned city of Indianapolis and cutting down the nets at Lucas Oil?
It's so tough to just go out and predict a national championship because we know how difficult it is to win those. But I do think that this team is a Final Four weekend team. And to me, if I'm telling you that they're going to get to a Final Four, then they're good enough to win it, in my opinion. If you're getting there, you're in the conversation for it. Do I think this team has all the pieces to win one? I do. I think this is going to be the one that makes you believe that they can, and puts themselves in position to be able to do it. Whether they do it or not, I don't know if I want to just stick my name on that on October 28th. But I do think that this team is going to be playing. I do think this team will play in a regional final with a chance to go to a Final Four. And if they get there, I think they're good enough to win it. I think they have the depth and the pieces to do it.
I agree in the sense of, sticking your neck out in that way right now is such a scary thing because, again, we haven't seen a regular season game. Things happen over the course of the season. What happens with Jaden Quains? When does he come back? How effective is he? How does Pope manage the rotations and keep everybody happy and like all of those things? Pope at the podium after the Purdue game said that this team reminded him a lot of the 96 championship team with how many mouths to feed and how selfless they are and just kind of putting the puzzle pieces together, but said, is that possible in 2025, 2026? Are you able to finish a season? Things are all happy and dandy right now when they're competing in practice and you finally get to beat down the number 1 team in the country on your home floor. It's a feel-good situation, but what happens when we get to February and a guy has been a, DNP for 3 games? Does he become an issue? Like those types of things in 2025, 2026 is a whole lot different than that 96 team. So with NIL and there's just a lot of new challenges that come with that. I don't think it matters. I think Kentucky's going to the Final Four. I think this team has the juice. I think they have all of the makings of. It hit me, Shawn. Go for it before I.
I feel comfortable with the Final Four pick. Is what I'm saying. Like I feel comfortable and confident in a Final Four pick. You need the ball to bounce your way in a national championship to win it. And if they're there, they got a great shot to do it. And maybe after 3 or 4 weeks of the regular season, maybe I come on here in December and say this team is winning it all. But right now, I would put it at this is a Final Four capable team.
it hit me for the first time at Big Blue Madness watching that that video of them. The still haven't found what I'm looking for video, going up to see all the Anthony Davis wingspan picture, JQ looking at that picture, Otega Owe holding the Oscar Tshiebwe Player of the Year poster, the history kind of aligning with all of the biggest moments in Kentucky history, and that's dating back to the 70s and the way back. There were Herald Leader headlines from way back when, decades ago. So it hit me in that moment that it just kind of has the feel. It just has that magical vibe to it that I did not have. The last time I had it, obviously, was that, I felt it a little bit with that Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox team a little bit, but that one kind of was was it sustainable for Malik Monk to go score 47 points in a tournament game? It kind of felt like they had the pieces for it, but could they, put it all together? There were some holes in some areas. I didn't know if they could sustain it. Elite Eight felt right for them. But the time before that was a 2014-15 team. That was obvious. Everybody felt that way going into that year. But before that 2012 team, I remember that road to the Final Four video that they dropped was that with that Who song, or that Walk, I think was the name of the song. But it was that UK Wildcat 8 fan. Steven, what's the name of that YouTube channel?
You got it. UK Cat 8 fan.
Dude.
Legend. YouTube legend.
That dude put that video out, and that the video that UK just put out is the same feeling, the same like, whoa, this is kind of Team of Destiny stuff. That's the last time I felt that feeling. So I just think they have it. I think they have the magic. I think it's time, and I definitely think they're going to a Final Four. But then I just think the ball is going to bounce the right way, and I think that we're going to be having a very, very special year that we're celebrating for a very, very long time. So I'm looking forward to it. The journey has already begun, but it officially begins next Tuesday. We're going to, get there with the exhibition game. Hopefully they take care of business. You get Jalen Lowe back next week. We get to see that for the first time, how that dynamic works. And then we're off to the races. 2 weeks from today, we're taking on the Louisville Cardinals, man. That blows my mind that we're even having that discussion, but it's here, Shawn. I cannot believe that it's actually here.
It's here, and talking season's over. And now we're really into it. You're quad one season coming up.
We're going to have a quad one 2 weeks from tonight, assuming Louisville takes care of its job. We know that we're going to be a quad one on our end, but can Louisville keep them their own status as a quad one? That's going to be the real challenge. They will. That one's going to be a quad one victory for the Cats. All right, let's wrap this thing up, man. This was a lot of fun. 27-4 finish for the Kentucky Wildcats, going to win the SEC championship, going to go to the Final Four. I personally think that they're going to win it all, but at least we're having the conversation. At least we're talking about Indianapolis. It's a whole lot of fun to dream big. This team is worth dreaming big for. Let's wrap this thing up, Shawn. Where can fans find your work?
At _Coach S. Smith.
Find me on Twitter at Jack Pilgrim KSR. Go subscribe to KSR Plus. A lot of recruiting updates. Christian Collins is nearing a decision. We got a lot of fun stuff on KS Board. All the intel you could possibly need over there right now. So make sure you go subscribe there. Make sure you're subscribed right here. If you didn't like this video, please do it before this video ends. Like it right this very second. It's the only way Stephen Peak is going to keep his job. If he's going to go on this Final Four run with us, and you want all this beautiful video content, then you have to subscribe. You have to like it, or else Stephen gets fired. So hopefully Steven gets to be a part of this magical journey for us, but make sure you're subscribed here, KSR Plus. Find me on Twitter at Jack Pilgrim KSR. With that, we'll be back maybe one after Georgetown and getting ready for the opener at Absolute. Definitely next Wednesday. We know that, but we'll see if we can sneak one in before then. But for Jack Pilgrim, for Shawn Smith, for Stephen Peak, we'll see you next time.